You can be intelligent and still be predictably wrong. Not occasionally wrong, but systematically wrong. Because the world isn't hard only because it's complex. It's hard because your brain is designed to feel certain before it's accurate. That's why smart people buy the top with conviction. Chase trends right before they collapse. Build businesses that look strong until one weak link breaks them, and keep repeating mistakes while believing they're learning. Charlie Munger's message in Poor Charlie's Almanack is uncomfortable. Being smart isn't enough. If you don't think in multiple models, reality will punish you for confident simplification. Poor Charlie's Almanack is a collection of Munger's speeches and frameworks, less about stock tips and more about a mental operating system. It explains why most people lose in markets, careers, and life, even when they have good intentions and high IQ. Munger wasn't trying to be brilliant. He was trying to avoid being stupid in the standard ways humans are stupid. That's his whole edge. Avoid big mistakes. Wait for the few decisions that matter, and let compounding do the rest. But none of that works if your thinking is narrow. So, he built what he called a latticework of mental models. Here's the core reframe. Wisdom is having multiple lenses available at the moment of decision. Most people operate with one primary lens: hard work, logic, positivity, hustle, data, relationships, confidence. And they apply that lens everywhere. Munger calls this the man with a hammer problem. If you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But reality is not a nail. The world is driven by incentives, feedback loops, human misjudgment, compounding effects, and second-order consequences. So the best decision makers don't become smarter, they become better equipped. They ask, what model applies here? And even more importantly, what model am I missing? If you don't use multiple models, you'll do two dangerous things. First, you'll mistake luck for skill. A strategy works once, and you treat it like proof. Then you scale, and the moment conditions change, you get wiped out. Second, you'll make decisions that are fragile. They look good under one assumption, but collapse when reality behaves differently. This is true in markets and in business. In investing, fragility looks like this: leverage that works until volatility spikes. There's also concentration without a margin of safety, the narratives that hide risk, and copying winners instead of understanding causes. In business, fragility looks like this: growth at the expense of trust. There's incentives that reward gaming, systems optimized for short-term numbers, and hiring for confidence instead of competence. Munger's worldview is, your goal isn't to win today. Your goal is to stay in the game long enough for compounding to work. So why do smart people still fail? Because intelligence makes you better at one thing: rationalization. A smart mind can justify almost anything. It can construct a story that feels airtight. Munger knew this, so he designed his thinking around a different goal: be less wrong. That means distrust your first story, distrust your certainty, and assume your mind is hiding something from you. Munger's root diagnosis is simple. 1. Humans have predictable biases. 2. Incentives amplify those biases. 3. Systems reward behaviors that look good short-term but destroy long-term outcomes. So, the only way to win is to build defenses. This is Munger's most quoted principle, for a reason. Show me the incentives, and I'll show you the outcome. Because incentives don't just influence behavior, they create behavior. People don't respond to what's true, they respond to what's rewarded. That's why smart organizations still rot. If you reward speed over quality, and you get shortcuts; growth over trust, and you get manipulation; metrics over reality, and you get gaming; loyalty over competence, and you get mediocrity. This is why Munger is obsessed with incentive design, culture, and systems, because incentives plus bias create predictable failure. And if you can see the failure pattern early, you can avoid it. Now, Munger's most useful contribution is his standard causes of human misjudgment. You don't need to memorize them like a list. You need to recognize them like warning lights. Here are the ones that matter most. With real-world impact: 1. Incentive cause bias. People will believe what they need to believe to get rewarded. This is why organizations lie to themselves. 2. Social proof. If everyone is doing it, you assume it's safe. This is how bubbles form. 3. Consistency and commitment. Once you publicly commit, you defend the position to protect identity. This is how people ride bad decisions into disaster. 4. Availability/vividness. Recent emotional events distort probability. This is how fear drives irrational decisions. 5. Liking/disliking tendency. You judge ideas based on the person you associate with them. This is how incompetent people gain influence. 6. Overconfidence. You overestimate your accuracy and underestimate risk. This is the most expensive bias in markets. 7. Depreval superreaction. You hate losing more than you like winning. This makes people hold losers too long and sell winners too early. 8. Envy/jealousy. This causes people to chase status and copy outcomes. This is how you buy the peak and regret it later. Munger's message: you are not a rational machine. You are a bias machine with occasional logic. So if you don't build defenses, you'll keep losing and calling it bad luck. 2 identities. The narrator: I understand what's happening, here's the story. And the model builder: which lens is missing? What bias is operating? And what incentive is shaping behavior? So, the narrator wants closure. The model builder wants coverage. The narrator wants to sound smart. The model builder wants to survive reality. In markets, narrators predict. Model builders size risk. In business, narrators pitch. Model builders design incentives. In life, narrators explain. Model builders change environment. Munger is a model builder. This is where Munger becomes almost anti-self-help. If your model is wrong, working harder doesn't help. It makes it worse, because effort amplifies direction. So if you're pointed the wrong way, effort just speeds up the mistake. This shows up in investing. The harder you chase certainty, the more you overpay. The harder you try to win, the more risk you take. The more you check prices, the more emotional you become. And it shows up in business. The harder you push growth, the more quality decays. The harder you chase numbers, the more ethics slip. The harder you pressure teams, the more people game the system. So Munger's approach is not be intense. It is be selective, rational, and patient. Because the big wins come from a few decisions, not constant motion. Munger's long game can be summarized as: avoid big mistakes, wait for great opportunities, bet when the odds are absurdly in your favor, let compounding do the heavy lifting. Now let's translate that into business and investing principles. Lesson 1 in investing. Margin of safety. If you don't have a margin of safety, you're gambling. Margin of safety means you can be wrong and still survive. The downside is capped. The decision doesn't require perfection. Munger hates fragile bets. Lesson 2 in investing. Circle of competence. You don't need to know everything. You need to know where you're competent and stay inside it. Most losses come from pretending competence in places you don't understand. Lesson 3 in investing. Patience plus concentration when appropriate. Munger doesn't diversify to feel safe. He diversifies when he lacks conviction. When he has a rare, high-quality opportunity with a margin of safety, he concentrates, but only if the downside doesn't end the game. Now for business. Lesson 1. Culture is incentive design. Culture isn't slogans. Culture is what gets rewarded. If you reward the wrong behavior, you create rot. If you reward the right behavior, you create compounding trust. Lesson 2 in business. Simplicity plus durability. Complexity hides failure. Simple systems show truth. Durable businesses are built on trust, repeat customers, pricing power, and low fragility. And, for a lesson in life, avoid stupidity. Munger often jokes that it's easier to avoid being stupid than to be brilliant. Avoid debt you can't handle, partners you don't trust, environments that shape bad behavior, decisions that depend on luck, because compounding is fragile. One catastrophic mistake resets you years. Here's a Munger-style decision filter you can use anywhere. Before you commit to a major decision, investment, job, relationship, business move, run this. 1. Incentives. Who gets rewarded if this goes forward? What behavior is being bought? 2. Bias check. What bias is most likely controlling me right now? Social proof, overconfidence, sunk cost, or envy. 3. Base rates. What normally happens in situations like this? Not what I hope, what's typical. 4. Second-order effects. If this works, what happens next? If it fails, what breaks? 5. Margin of safety. If I'm wrong, do I survive, or does this end the run? Then add Munger's favorite move: invert. Ask, how could this become a disaster? Then design to remove those failure modes. That single habit will save you more money and pain than most smart advice. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your biggest mistakes won't come from ignorance. They'll come from blind spots, overconfidence, misread incentives, social proof, identity protection. And if you only carry one model into a complex world, you won't just be wrong. You'll be wrong with certainty. Reality doesn't punish you for being imperfect. It punishes you for being fragile. And Munger's entire philosophy is a refusal to be fragile.